doesn't have an R next to their name, because they know this really matters. The truth is this: Kamala Harris will protect your right to disagree with her about policies or ideas. And then, as we have done for centuries, we'll debate them, we'll work on them together, and we'll move forward.
Less than a day to go, and all of the things that we turn to as indicators of momentum do appear today to be on the side of Team Harris. The campaign in its late days has been rocketed by a poll that shows the vice president up 3 in, wait for it, Iowa. The poll comes from a gold standard pollster, J. Ann Selzer. She's respected by both Republicans and Democrats. Just ask Donald Trump.
They have a great pollster, actually. Very powerful pollster, very good, talented pollster.
That was him talking about Ann Selzer. It was less than a year ago, but now confronted with a piece of news that underscores the distinct possibility of defeat even in Iowa, Trump is resorting to what Trump always does, dismissing it as fake.
They just announced a fake poll. Hey, think of it. Right before the election, that I'm 3 points down. I'm not down in Iowa.
All this brings us to option number 2, that which lies behind curtain number 2. What's happening at Trump's rallies, which, by the way, are not nearly as well attended as they once were. Our colleague, reporter Vaughn Hilliard, reports that enthusiasm and crowds have waned significantly in recent weeks. A Trump rally this morning in North Carolina was only at about 70% capacity. But when Trump is not dismissing polls that are bad for him as fake, priming his supporters to reject the results if Donald Trump loses, when he's not doing that, he's musing about shooting journalists.
I have a piece of glass over here, and I don't have a piece of glass there. And I have this piece of glass here, but all we have really over here is the fake news, right? And to get me, somebody would have to shoot through the fake news. And I don't mind that so much, because I don't mind that.
I don't mind someone shooting through the fake news. Curtain number 2. So when he's not talking about that stuff or the dictator on day 1 stuff, the candidate is telling the world something that a lot of people feared last time. He's saying it out loud now. He never should have left the White House after he lost the first time. Watch.
The day that I left, I shouldn't have left. I mean, honestly, because we did so well.
I shouldn't have left. He did not do so well. I mean, he did fine. He just didn't win. He lost the last election by more than 7 million votes. He lost the Electoral College soundly, and then attempted a coup for which he currently faces criminal charges. It's just one of many, many reasons why, as Liz Cheney put it today, there is, quote, only one serious, responsible adult in the race. Listen to her.
It's not a race where we have the luxury of being able, sometimes conservatives will say, well, I'm going to write in an alternative. I'm not going to vote for Trump, but I'm going to write somebody in. And I want to make sure people all across the country understand you don't have that luxury. We have to defeat him. And I can't tell you how proud I was to fill in that, circle next to Kamala Harris and Tim Walz.
Wow, let that sink in. Liz Cheney getting emotional, talking about filling in the circle next to Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. I feel you, sister. A dark and dour wannabe autocrat, Donald Trump, who today, hours ahead of Election Day, stands in the starkest contrast ever to this very diverse, very sunny and positive message from Vice President Kamala Harris, assembling and showcasing her bipartisan coalition on the eve of the 2024 election is where we start today. With me at the table, my most favorite friends, President of Reproductive Freedom for All, Mini Timaraj, is here, former U.S. Senator, host of MSNBC's How to Win 2024 podcast, Claire McCaskill's here, and Michael Steele is back, former chairman of the RNC, now co-host of MSNBC's The Weekend. Also joining us, political strategist, MSNBC senior analyst Matt Dowd, whose cell phone had to have exploded yesterday when everyone wanted to know if Ann Seltzer's poll was real. So I'll start with you. Is Ann Seltzer's poll real?
Well, thank you, Nicolle. I think it's real in what's happening. I don't necessarily agree that Harris is going to win. But the idea that even if she lost by 2 or 3 is a momentous motion of the race. And in these races, and you and I work together, and I look for signals at the end. You sort of abandon the sort of polling stops really fundamentally on the Friday before, and you look at signals. And I think the Seltzer poll is a signal of something that I've been saying for 2 months, which is the undercount in this race, the underestimation in this race is much more likely to be for Harris than it is for Donald Trump. And the thing about Seltzer, I think that is important for people to realize, is not necessarily is she up 3 or where is it, but she in 2020, she was the first one at the end to sort of signal that Joe Biden's support was inflated. He won. He didn't win by as much as everybody thought he was going to win. And she saw that coming at the end before anybody else did. She also was the first one at the end in 2016 to show that Donald Trump was surging at the end, especially of late-breaking votes. And she identified that before many of us, many people, saw that coming in the final 3 days. And so to me, what I think she's showing, and I think there's other data bearing this out, there's a poll in Kansas that shows her down only 5. There's a poll in Ohio showing her down only 3 or 4. There's a Nebraska 2nd District poll that shows her 12 up in a district that Joe Biden carried by 5 or 6. And so what I think she's showing and identifying is there is a surge at the end or a revelation at the end that Harris has this unestimated vote that the models that pollsters have been using, which was based on 2020 or based on 2016, didn't apply in a post-Dobbs, post-January 6th environment. So I think she shined a light. Whether Harris wins Iowa or not, I still doubt that she wins it. What she's identified, in my view, is what the other pollsters have not caught that she caught, which is an underestimation of the Harris vote.
So when you say you're saying you don't think she wins Iowa. How are you feeling about the race?
I think I'm very bearish on whatever the right term is. I don't ever know. I think Harris.
You can tell who worked on Wall Street, right? I never know either. I think
is it like a bear or bull? Which one's good?
I think the bull is good and the bear is bad, right?
Yes. Yeah. I'm not. You're going to have to get Aunt Scaramucci
on
this.
Bull is good.
Yes. So I think, and I've said this all along, and you and I have had this conversation, I think this race has been very stable since she got in the race. And I've said that I thought she had a 3 or 4 point advantage nationally. And I think there's a poll out today, Marist poll out today, that shows her up 4. I think that's been the case. What has complicated it, and what I think people have misread and then misled, is all of this crap polls, corrupt and crap polls. GOP has flooded the zone. They put 17 polls out today, the GOP, to try to say that Trump's going to win. It's all BS. I think what happened was all these poll aggregators and all these folks couldn't help themselves. It's a little bit like I say, they know it's crud, they know it's not good, but it's a little bit like you have this poison food or this food that's gone bad in your refrigerator and you ordered food on DoorDash. But because DoorDash is late, you go ahead and eat the food that you have sitting there because you couldn't wait for the good food. I think many people couldn't wait for the good polls, so they consume the bad. And I think that's what misled people.
I also think, Michael Steele, that, and I said this last night on our special, that we don't, as a media, know how to cover men on the issue of abortion. I believe we will owe Amanda Zarowski and the other female plaintiffs in the lawsuits after the draconian Texas ban and others for going public with the story of what it's like to lose a desperately wanted pregnancy. Amanda Zarowski was pregnant with her daughter Willow, and when she lost her daughter and was grieving the loss of that pregnancy, she and her husband Josh were denied health care that makes it unknown if she'll ever be able to have a baby again. And the two of them went through that tragedy together, and the two of them saw two systems of healthcare in America. It also applies to pregnant women who get in car accidents in states of events. They have to wait before they can get any pain medicine in some instances. The doctors want to know if they're pregnant or not. I mean, this is not a terror or horror. It is experienced by women, but men are not walled off from it, but we have no way of talking to them about it. We have no way of covering them. And I think it is a known unknown how men will vote, how girl dads will vote, how dads will vote.
Yeah, I think that's right. Look, over many years in this space, in the pro-life movement and as a political player in the Republican Party, as a candidate, as an elected official, you sort of move in and out of issues like this in a way in which you pick up, I think, some underlying points about how it is received, how it is consumed by the broader community. And I think on this issue, you're absolutely right. Men have largely been walled off from the abortion discussion because our attitude in this country, which is still very much a very puritanical attitude when it comes to women, is, well, you take care of it. That's your problem. That's not my problem. And if the woman resists that, then that leads to other problems for her that have nothing to do with getting to the hospital. It has to deal with her relationship with her family. It has to deal with her relationship with her male companion. And this election cracked that, I think, in a very profound way. Because for the first time, women have said, listen to what I'm telling you. We've had enough of this one-sided conversation on an issue that affects all of us. And so now you've got to be in this conversation too.
Yeah, Michelle Obama driving that message home. Here, so Vice President Kamala Harris speaking in Allentown. This is where we've heard that the insult at Donald Trump's Madison Square Garden rally about Puerto Rico being an island of trash has really resonated. Let's listen to the Vice President for a minute.
Good afternoon. All right, Allentown, are we ready to do this? Are we ready to vote? Are we ready to win? Oh, it's good to be back in Pennsylvania, and it is good to be with so many incredible leaders. Let me thank everyone. I want to thank everyone. I want to thank everyone for taking the time out of your busy lives to be here this afternoon. We are all in this together, and I know we all here know this, but I thank you for all the work everyone has been doing over these last months and over the next 24 hours. Thank you all. I want to thank my dear friend Governor Shapiro for his leadership, his friendship, and all that he does. Congresswoman Wild, let's reelect her to the United States House of Representatives. And while we're at it, please send Bob Casey back to the United States Senate. Mayor Turk, I thank you for your friendship and your long-standing leadership. And can we hear it for Fat Joe? And Frankie Negron? So listen, I am so thankful to everyone for being here, and including the leaders of the Puerto Rican